Morning, everybody. Well, it's actually afternoon, and I keep doing all different times, so I never know exactly what I'm doing, but I try to fit them in whoever my guests are because sometimes we have guests in different cities, in different countries. So anyway, it's noon in Central Time, Chicago. So uh, we're going to have a great show today. Eleanor Parker Sapia is here, and this is the first of the series. And we're going to have a series about, it'll probably be starting in January because I think in December, I'll be off for about 3 weeks because everybody's busy with the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year. So we're going to have series about different things for women and about love, relationships, and we're not going to leave out the men. So if there's any conversations they'd like to have, uh, we're going to do a lot of these shows. And if you're listening and hear this, I'm going to put it online so people will know. But there's so many issues that people, they think about, but they don't want to ask their doctor. They don't want to ask their friends. So we're not doctors, but we're going to talk about some things that we've come up with that are happening now. And so whatever we say, naturally ask your doctor, but you at least be aware of what you might want to talk about because I worked for doctors for over 30 years in hospitals. And sometimes when you sit in that chair, you become intimidated or the doctor's in a rush, so you almost can't think. So sometimes when you leave the office, you go, oh my God, I forgot to ask this or that. So if you hear some of the things on some of these shows, you'll put it on your list so you don't forget because honestly, there's not always enough time for and so but some of these things that you want to ask doctors are important. So that's probably what we're going to talk about today and some of the other shows also. Just questions or things that you might feel that you might not want to ask the doctor, but actually you should. And don't feel embarrassed because whatever the questions are you ask your doctor, he's heard before. But for you, you need to be able to feel comfortable. And if you're not comfortable with your doctor, I've switched doctors a lot. You have to have that rapport. If you don't have it, then you could be having something bother you that normally should be answered one, two, three. So today we're going to talk about some of these things. Eleanor is, somebody asked me today, is this about books? This is not about books today. And this series isn't about books unless we decide to add things in. This is about issues that people have. So morning, well, afternoon, Eleanor. So glad you're here.
Good afternoon, Marsha. Thank you for
It's going to be a
having
good
me.
show.
Thank you. Thank you. Great opening.
Yeah.
Really,
Yes. Yes. All right. So
yes.
tell everybody, when we talked about these things on the phone, you had some new ideas that were
hmm
brought up to you that we didn't know about. I didn't know either. So you want to talk about,
Exactly. Thank
you
you.
know, what
Yeah.
brought you here today so we could talk about
hmm
this. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you and I did have several conversations, and I had just had an appointment. It was my yearly physical with my endocrinologist and my general practitioner. Both women. I would say they're late 30s to early 40s. And these had always mentioned, but no one had actually said anything to me until I happened to be, believe it or not, on Instagram, and I happened to catch a little, I guess they call them reel of
Yeah.
an
Reels. Right.
OBGYN, board certified OBGYN, right, by the name of Dr. Claire Haver, who is an OBGYN, but she specializes, and I don't know when she switched, don't know that much about her, but she switched to menopause teaching and learning because she herself was going through premenopause and menopause. So this was interesting. So I brought it up to my GP during my physical, and she kind of looked at me, and I'm 68. I'm a mother, of two adult children, and they're late 30s and 40s, in an adopt. And she knows me quite well. She knows what my history is. And when I said I told her about what I had heard about menopause, postmenopause, and how our generation, I'm 68, near the end of 68, and I was never, ever offered any support or advice or treatment options for the symptoms that I thought I was having. Pause. So my daughter was a high school senior, I remember, and I didn't know much about menopause other than what I'd seen in movies. To tell you the truth, you know how women's like, oh, hot flashes, mood swings.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a period anymore. Really, my mother never talked to me much. I mean, sex, pregnancy, really
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
give me a lot of information. God bless her. I mean, she was a fabulous mother, but she just didn't. It was very private. And so when I asking her when I thought I might be going through menopause, because I was not sleeping well, I didn't feel right. And I just couldn't put my finger on it. So I said, Mom, when your experience like? And she said, oh, she kind of looked surprised and said, oh, it wasn't that bad. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to get anything out of her. And I'd never seen her personally. I never saw her hot flush, anything.
Right. I think people didn't even talk
And
about it. They didn't really talk about it, like
they
they do
didn't
now.
talk about, yeah, exactly. Like
They were having
talked a
issues.
lot.
They were having a lot of issues.
Like I was the kind of kid, exactly, but no one spoke about it. And so I was a nosy kid. I was always listening in on their conversations, and I thought, gosh, I've never. When I started experiencing premenopause, I thought, how did they hide it? Because I was actually drenched in sweat. Had hot flashes day and night sweats, days.
Yeah.
It was just, you couldn't avoid it. I was irritable. My hair was thinning. I had insomnia. I gained weight. My nails were shot. My hair. It was just everything. And I'm thinking, how do they never speak about it? Well, when I brought all this up to my GP, the first thing she said she did was apologize. And it really almost brought tears in my eyes because I thought, why is she apologizing to me? I mean, I love her. I think she's a fabulous woman. She's a mother of 2 children, I believe. I think she has twins. But she said, we were wrong. The medical community never offered any of the women in your generation any kind of education or help, support, nothing. And I remember mentioning, should I be on something? And I lived in Belgium at the time, so the premenopause, my early years, and I was in premenopause, and I'm not joking, for 13, 14 years. This was my children's entire high school experience. I was going through this, and I remember my Belgian OBGYN, who was the head of the OBGYN department in a teaching hospital in Leuven, Belgium, said to me, because I kept bugging him, like, are you sure? Is there just nothing? Because I thought surely, they were more into natural foods, no preserve. Even I knew back then, and this like 2000. And he said no. He said no, absolutely not. He said I wouldn't put my mother, my daughter, my wife, mother on any kind of hormones ever. And I believed him. So all that time, gaining weight, losing weight, not leaving, just irritable. I remember just being irritable.
Yeah.
And
Eleanor, can you do me a favor?
Why things that normally would have just rolled up my back.
Eleanor, can you do me a favor and just
can you not hear me?
Yes. If you could just turn your sound down a little, your speaker, just turn your sound down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think I'm getting an echo.
Oh, I will.
They're helping me. Yeah.
Okay.
They said to lower the speaker.
It says on air. First time I've seen that.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that good enough or more?
Yeah.
lower it some
Goes
more?
low. Yeah, yeah, because
Okay, wait a
I'll be
minute.
able to hear you anyway. Yeah, they just said that would be
Okay,
better.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, and if you move away, are you on the computer? You're on your computer?
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, I am.
So, okay, it's better now, I think. Go ahead. Yeah, I think so, because I'm asking them for support
Okay.
because I hear some. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, and once I get on this topic, it's hard for me to slow down.
Oh, okay. All right. So listen. So
So
the thing
basically,
is,
she apologized.
mhm. No, the thing I wanted to say is, I think this is something that happens a lot that when you know, you don't really if you're approaching them and sometimes you get a blank
Hmm.
stare. Did that happen? Did she do that? Did she like look at you or like where is this
Um,
coming from?
well, I knew not really. I mean, when I would ask her, my endocrinologist said, "No, no, no. We finally got your. I have autoimmune, like Graves' disease, and I had Hashimoto's,
Yeah.
and it took a long time to get my medication, balanced." And she was so afraid. She's like, "Oh my God, no! I hope you don't do hormone." But my GP said to me, because she knows my most recent history, and I was diagnosed a year ago, and I probably had it for who knows how long. I have vascular, what is it, cardiovascular disease,
Mm.
and
And they never, yeah,
I
yeah.
had to have,
Carotid
yeah,
artery surgery.
they,
Yeah, yeah,
I had to have a carotid artery surgery.
yeah.
I forget the name of it, but
Carotid,
that's
yeah.
when my GP said, "You know what? Estrogen, lack of estrogen is the cause, and they're seeing it now that it could be the cause of all the things, the diseases, the symptoms, the syndromes, the everything that women go through with autoimmune and this." And I'm like, well, that's out of control.
Yeah.
And, she was saying that they really do believe now that it was lack of estrogen, enough levels. So basically, our generation, we did this whole cold turkey. Like, I don't even know how we survived.
Well,
On
I
what I'm
think they
seeing
probably,
now.
they may have, yeah, they may have given people hormones then. I don't know, the thing about it is because, they, a lot of people were on
I
birth
don't
control.
know. I
Yeah, I don't, because people didn't talk about it as much though, a lot of times. So,
True. That's
you know,
true. That's
and
true.
that's another, but doctors, sometimes,
Yeah.
now more than ever, they're almost, um, they're
Mhm.
attuned to people asking questions. Because I think like in my mother's age group, they didn't ask questions. So they just did whatever they said and they kind of grinned and bared it. And if they had these symptoms, they would probably go, oh, you're going through the
Exactly.
change. And that's that. But, I remember I
Exactly.
was lucky and I
Exactly.
didn't have a lot of that. But I have to say, before all the
No
way,
good.
like, well, but I remember thinking, until I went through it, I meant
Mm-hmm.
thinking like, "Oh, what's gonna happen to me? Will I be
Mm-hmm.
different?" And I'm not a worrier, but I felt, it's kind of like, what will happen? And am I gonna be
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable? Will I be able to work? Will I be able to do anything? Because sometimes they say, "Oh, you're going
Right.
through the change," and what does that mean for us? We don't know a lot of times because you
What
go,
does
"Oh,
it mean?
okay, what does that mean?"
Exactly.
Everybody I know has probably had different symptoms. And the thing is,
Yes, absolutely.
so you're prepared for the worst, and sometimes it is the worst, and sometimes it's not the worst. I don't even know
Mm-hmm.
how it came to be, but I do take some vitamins, not a lot of vitamins. So I remember hearing about this vitamin that I had seen on TV, and the guy said, this is about women's wellness. So I was
Mm-hmm.
taking those and it was just like
Mm-hmm.
a vitamin, but then I realized that maybe it was really helping
Hmm.
me. I don't know. So, I mean, my flashes were just from the
Yeah.
neck up, and it was a cold flash.
Yeah.
And then I felt a little weak, and then I felt
Mm-hmm.
better. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but those were mine.
Right.
And that's what I had. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember always thinking beforehand, what's it going to be? They say, oh, the change, or, will my whole personality change? Will I be, mean to everybody? Will I be
Well,
snippy? So you don't know. That's one of the
mhm,
problems, and I think
you don't know.
that worries
You really
people
don't.
too. You
Mhm.
don't know. But I think
Well,
probably
I
one
think
of
it's
the,
concerning.
yeah,
It is 'cause
exercise.
women. Go ahead.
Exercise, vitamins, eating right.
Yes.
I was looking a lot of things up, but those are the things that are really important for women's health and in general, and our mental
Mm,
attitude. Because we are thrown a lot of things, especially at work.
yes.
People say, "Oh, it's changed for women," but
Mm,
not every woman. It's not, because sometimes when you're talking, if you're at a
mhm,
meeting, you almost feel like sometimes men are looking at you like, what are you talking about? I mean, I was in the electronic business for a
mhm.
while. After my dad died,
Right.
my husband decided to
Right.
leave the business and do other things. So I figured, I'll just stay. So every time they
Mhm,
heard my voice,
mhm.
automatically they would think I know nothing. And so I learned
Right.
everything
Right.
I had to. And
Or
finally, then I
we're
had
too
people just
emotional.
calling
Just
me. Yeah, yeah. And they kept, then they would be fine asking
mhm,
me for the parts.
mhm.
And I found all the parts for them. But I do know I felt that. And I also know one thing about women. I kept thinking to myself,
Absolutely.
don't,
Yeah.
don't cry. I said, don't cry. Because sometimes, can't
Mm,
help it,
mm,
you feel
mm.
like it. But I kept
Mhm.
always said, do
You
not
do.
cry. Because if you cry, they win. And so I
Right.
didn't.
Yeah.
And you do feel
Yeah.
like
It's
it
it,
sometimes.
it it's tough.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
See, I
hard.
didn't
It's,
work. I didn't work outside the home. I
yeah,
volunteered. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of us stayed home. I stayed home with my kids because I was an art photographer. I was a portrait painter. So I did work, but I stayed home
yeah.
to work. So I
But
wasn't in
right.
contact with many men other than, my ex. Interestingly enough, time, of course, I have divorced after 27 years of it.
Right. Well, yeah, that's
Um,
tough. Yeah.
but that was, yeah, that's another like sub
So
of
so now that you
and
cause so
premenopause.
now that you're not
Mm,
taking, that you've
mm.
talked to them and you're past this, I mean, so
I've
how
never taken
how'd you
anything, never.
right, and I didn't either. So,
Well,
that's the thing, because a lot, like, I
so the
thought about this after
GP told,
what they say.
yeah.
What they say to
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry. See, I think there's like a delay, and I feel like I'm
That's
talking over you.
okay. Don't That's
Apologies for
okay. No, it's
that.
fine. No, go
Um,
ahead.
yeah. So the GP said to me, she said, "You are 68. You are a young 68." She said, I do work out, I swim. At that time, when I started feeling like, gosh, something's wrong. And I knew if something was wrong when I actually fainted at my daughter's uh, rehearsal dinner
Oh my
the night before
God.
last year.
Really? Oh God. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
So, and there was
yeah.
and I mean, I was anxious. I've never had that
Oy,
happen to me.
yeah.
But this was because I was also had been a vegetarian for at that time about 2.5, 3 years. And what I've learned now is that be, body types, some bodies do they need more protein. Well, I've always been like I can eat steak, potatoes. I gained weight, of course, but because and it was not good for my cholesterol, for my high blood pressure. So, it's like for like 8 years, maybe I just didn't know what the hell to do next. Like, how do I get like a balance?
Yeah.
And so I started vegetarian, but then when I feel a little run down, I will have meat. So I'm not a purist, certainly not.
Well,
And I
right.
realized that exercise alone, we're not going to do it because it still doesn't help us with the hormonal changes, which she said for me, the way I live and my lifestyle, that I might be a great candidate for a low dose estrogen. Now most that I'm reading about now say, no, what's your, you're over menopause, you're post menopause, you haven't had a period in like 5 years or something. I don't know the exact time, but post menopause, you are no longer a candidate for estrogen. So I'm still in that, educating myself, and I'm going to take her word for it. She knows me, she sees my time,
Yeah.
but my endocrinologist is totally against it. So it's very new.
Yes, because
So the one
I was thinking
thing
of,
I can recommend, and this is a book,
go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking
the book
myself
that I
that,
can recommend by this. Mhm, go ahead.
no, I was thinking that after we talked, I thought to myself, would I have taken hormones if they told me to? And I think I might have said no, knowing me. I
You
mean,
would, right?
I take, I mean,
I know.
yeah, because I would say, well,
Hmm.
if I just have these things, but I do think for the people listening out there, if they have like,
Hmm.
you're very uncomfortable, yes, you
Hmm.
have to do something about that then.
Hmm.
But I did think about that because
Right.
sometimes, because you go like, oh, hormones, do I really want to do that? And, then they talk about
Hmm.
hormones in food and this and that. And,
Right. Right.
I think what's happening to people is we're
Exactly.
so confused, about everything. And that's why I want to do this show for
Well,
other reasons,
they've
also for other
they've
topics.
they've flipped the switch. Exactly.
Yeah. We don't
Well,
know.
and she's talking about, my doctors are talking about the entire medical community,
Yeah.
that they're totally switching page. Not like
And
they're,
that's
it's one
changing
or
it, right?
two.
So that's
So
changing
this
everybody's life. Yeah.
it is,
That's
because
everybody. Yeah.
exactly. So this is Dr. Mary Claire Hager has is the author of the New York Times on a book called The New Menopause.
Yeah.
And this book is described, I might just read this for anyone who might be interested. It says, the news by Dr. Mary Claire Haver redefines menopause as a time to take charge, not slow down. She
Yeah.
explains hormonal changes through treatment options and shares science-based on nutrition and self-advocacy, helping
Yeah.
women thrive in this new phase. That's
Yeah. I
pretty
think,
much,
yeah. Yeah. I see,
we didn't see that.
that's the thing though. Right. But the other thing is, when people have symptoms, and but like let's say you're not sleeping, like, we were just saying,
Mhm.
that that affects everything.
Right.
So if you're not sleeping,
Oh, yeah,
that's the
exactly.
first thing to say because, like, how do you function? I mean, you can go a couple days, but not forever, not for as long as some people go through menopause for years, a lot of years. And so you can't look at somebody and go like, oh, they had it for a year. Some
Mhm.
people go on it are on it for 5 years. And some people even have hot flashes much later on. It just is the way it goes. We don't, and so I think it's good that they're addressing this
Yeah, like,
and,
yeah, I
and
did.
telling
I
people,
certainly.
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
And I think
also about the
when you speak
bones.
about sleep and how,
Yeah.
absolutely, that was the second thing. If I might just say about the sleep, sleep is when your body, like, recovers and heals itself.
Yeah.
And so imagine the lack of sleep over, and it's a bad cycle, and bone density
Yeah.
is really important, and weight
Well,
training
right.
for women,
Yeah.
which,
Yeah. I do all those
which
things,
I'm not a fan
but the
of, but
thing
you know what? I'm doing it.
I do all those things, but and well, I was talking to one of my friends who was going to be on here, Carol. She had breast cancer, and so she did everything
Mm,
before she had breast cancer. She did, she was exercising, she was eating right, she was taking vitamins, and she still got breast
mm,
cancer. Well, she'll be on again. She's been on many of my
yeah,
shows. So no matter how much we try to
mm,
do on it, sometimes it just happens that we get
right,
things, anyway. And
right, and
there
it's
is a big thing with
correct.
osteo for
Mhm.
osteoporosis now is, do people need
Yes.
hormones? Would have that have stopped people's bone density? I think, and my bone density test got worse when I got Graves' disease and a
Mm,
hyperthyroid. Even though
yep,
I'm in remission, I'm in
Yes.
remission, not from Graves, but
Yep.
I'm in remission,
Same.
and my tests still aren't great,
Mhm.
and I
Mm,
go back and forth, and every doctor I talk to, they all say the same thing. They
mhm,
actually they want you to be on things, but there's like if you see a drug that has
mhm,
all these things wrong that can happen to you, and you're feeling
mhm,
okay. I'm not saying
mhm,
like everything is perfect with me, but I'm saying like, why do I want to make it worse for myself? I get to
mhm.
do everything I want to do, and years ago they never even took bone density.
Yeah. Yep.
I was talking to some women because I always kind of like bring
Mhm.
this subject up because I want to hear what people say. So I was talking to them and I said, "So do you have it?"
Sure.
And they went osteopenia. She goes, "You know
Mm.
what?" She said, "I'm not even taking a bone density because I don't want to know." Because years ago they never even took it.
Oh.
They didn't have bone density.
Mhm, mhm.
So and they they're doing good. They
Right, right.
they
I've only
live
had
their
one since
life.
2000.
Yeah, yeah, they live their life.
Mhm.
So there's so many questions for
Well, it's
women. I think that's a problem for all women. We
yeah,
don't know because what's right for
yeah.
one isn't right for, but the doctors, you really have to trust your doctor. But, you know,
Mm,
even though they tell you
mhm.
something,
Well,
sometimes
I
you
think that's
just have to use your own
changing.
mind. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're questioning
You
like
do.
what
I think
should
it's
be.
really important to have yeah, I think it's important because a lot of these, um, women OBGYNs who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s,
Yeah,
they are very outspoken now. There are,
yeah.
what you call it, conferences, seminars, books. I just saw probably 10 books on menopause,
Well, there's a
and
lot more
you look
women,
at the
doc.
authors, and they're young women.
Yeah, but there's a
Right.
lot of
So I
them.
think it's really important
Yeah,
to
because there are a
have
lot
an
of women who are
OBGYN you have
not. Yeah,
rapport with who
yeah.
all right,
I
or
don't,
you need to be able to and
like I have a male doctor and I don't mind that, but a lot of my friends won't. And so now there's so many
mhm,
female gynecologists now, which is good because people, if they feel uncomfortable. But I remember when I was pregnant with my
yeah,
son, and he was a man, my doctor, but he was so nice and caring and thoughtful. I mean, I'm thinking I mean, it was, because he never had a baby, he'd never been pregnant, and he was so caring. So there are doctors out there
right, right,
that are caring. But if you
right.
find yourself going to a
Yes.
doctor that like
Mhm,
gives you that look and doesn't want to take the
right,
time, like I didn't have that many
right,
questions because there's
right.
one thing I learned when I was working for doctors is the more books you read can sometimes make you very confused. So that's and now
Mm,
with the internet, I
yeah,
mean, I was on the internet last night, looking about menopause and hormones, and actually almost all of them
mhm,
said the things we're talking about today and not other things. This is a
yeah,
bare facts now that what we're saying is what all these
right,
articles are saying the same thing.
right,
Have check with your
right. Well, if
doctor,
we're being
yeah,
validated,
yeah, yeah.
right,
Validated. That's a good
right.
word.
But
Yes.
it's like we were silenced, we were
Yeah.
silenced in a nice little polite way, like a little pat on the head, you go through the
Yeah.
changes, grin and bear
Yeah.
it, it'll be over. Well, the problem that 10, 13 years, whatever it was for a woman, you know, is
Yeah.
now the reason or that could be the cause of the things that she's dealing with now in her
Yeah.
60s and 70s and 80s.
Yeah, but and
And
that
that's why I
brings
wanted
me
to bring it up today, not,
right. Yeah, but that's a
just
problem
be
though
open
because
to
then
learn about it, to be open.
it's never too late though. That's the thing. Okay, so if what you just said,
Oh,
60s, 70s,
absolutely.
80s, if you haven't exercised, do a little. Like I on YouTube, if you
Right.
can't go to a health club or anything like that, and YouTube has Tai Chi. I've been doing Tai Chi, a
Mhm.
little, like 5, 10 minutes a day, along
Yeah.
with my other exercise. I do. And you were doing it too. So I think
Yeah.
if
Well,
you
we have
add
the
these
same
things, it doesn't
instructor.
matter. Yes. Yeah. Yes. She's at, I think it's Lila Cone, but there's a lot of them in there. But, and so
Yes.
I think the thing about when
Right.
you get older, your balance, and not only
Mm,
that, it's just for
mm,
your well-being
yes.
mentally. Like when years ago,
Yes.
I took karate years ago and I went for a couple years and I really
Oh,
wasn't good at it, but it
wow.
was really good
Cool. Mm,
mentally because and I thought always, and I've mentioned
mm-hmm.
this on other shows, they
Mm-hmm.
kids should take it, everybody, because sometimes when you're doing breathing or any of these exercises, even when you're exercising, you are not thinking
Hmm.
about your problems,
Yeah,
anything. Something about it, it just makes you and
absolutely.
takes you to a better place.
Absolutely.
So these are small things that if you don't want to take the medicine, at least
It really
exercise,
does.
at least
Yeah,
eat right, and try to do like
absolutely.
some
Yes.
kind of meditation and things like that. And if we're lucky enough to have doctors that will understand that, which
Mm,
they're not, some of them, because a lot of doctors
right.
they don't exercise.
Hmm.
They're telling you what to do, but they don't do it. And but
Well,
you have
they're
to
not
be
trained.
careful.
They don't have
Right.
many. They don't have many
Yeah.
years of take. I'm sorry, of taking nutrition. They don't know a lot about
Yeah.
nutrition. If you
Yeah.
ask them, well, what should I eat?
Yeah.
They'll send you to a nutritionist, or I try
Right.
to get a nutritionist. Of course, my health insurance doesn't cover it. Of course.
Yeah. Well, they don't cover a lot of things now. Like, yeah,
So you're
forget that.
left with
Yeah.
so many. They don't, and so you're kind of left on your own. And so that's why I'm so hopeful. And no, I don't think it's
Right.
too late at all. It's not
Hopeful.
even late for
Right.
me,
Yeah.
even though I have,
No,
you
it's
know what I
not too
mean?
late.
So
Yeah, it's not
go
too late.
start.
No.
No, I totally agree. You can turn things around. I think the weight training, which is something more new to me,
Yeah.
that is what all of these female women OBGYNs are talking about, and they all eat tons of protein, and it's
Yeah.
really not, you know, eat eat less, exercise more. It's like no balance. It's a balance of
Yeah, it's a
eating
balance.
what
Right,
your
right.
body,
Yeah.
what works for your body. Right. It
You
really
know,
is.
like
And
I
your
think you
mental health has
yeah. And
every, you know?
the other thing is the problem is when you look at labels, which even I would this what takes people a lot of time in the grocery stores. You can see them. They're all looking at labels. But like the less ingredients
Oh,
you
yeah.
have in it, you're better off. I once asked a skin
Right.
doctor that. I go like, I would bring him all these creams. Can I use this? Is this going to upset me? Because I'm very, I'm light skinned and thin skinned always.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Mm-hmm.
would say,
Right.
look how many
Right.
ingredients. He goes, there's no way that you know what ingredient could be, because if there's 50 ingredients in something, how are you going to figure out what doesn't agree with
Yeah.
you?
Very
So
important.
yeah, it's very important.
Yeah.
So
If
if
you
you
can't
eat more,
recognize it, don't eat
right,
it.
right. And even in vitamins, look at the
You
vitamins,
just
make sure they're kind of pure,
can't.
that, and there's not a lot of additives in them.
Yes. Yes.
Because sometimes when you go like to a nursing home, you
That's a
see
new,
these
that's a
people
new
that are 100,
business.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're 100 years old in the nursing homes. They're
Mm-hmm.
eating what they feel like. They're drinking wine. They're doing all this stuff. And they're 100 or they're
Exactly.
90s. So I think,
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yep.
if you spend so much time worrying about all this, you're not going to enjoy your life. And you try your best. That's all we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I mentioned about my friend Carol, who had done
Well,
everything she thought. And then she still got breast cancer. So, and she
right.
didn't have a
Right.
family that had it.
Right.
You just need regular checkups, but you also need, this is one of the reasons I'm talking about this,
Mm-hmm.
because there are women that don't go to the doctor at all. They're afraid. And it's not fun a lot of times
I
because you
know.
find out
I
things.
know.
But if you don't go,
Yeah.
and you
Yes.
have, let's say, breast cancer, or you have
Right.
a cyst
Right.
on your ovaries, or like your hormones are out of whack,
Yeah.
and you could use a
Mm-hmm.
hormone, and people are afraid. So as
You
soon as
didn't.
you hear
Yeah.
the word hormone, like, because I
Mm-hmm.
that's what I said. I thought about it and I went like, oh, if they would have told me take hormones, I don't know if I would have.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, I,
I don't
I'm not
know if I would buy them,
I'm
and it
not a
would have been.
health nut,
Yeah. No,
you know.
I'm not, but I'm certainly very. I mean, I've always been interested in health and wellness, and obviously, when 65 and over, I started looking into longevity and
Yeah.
taking classes and
Yeah.
educating myself and, supplements and how to spot good ones. And, you know, it's
Yeah.
everything in my home. So I kind of went all out only because I now had, vascular disease
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I did not know where the hell it came from and what had happened. So I felt like I had to change a lot of things. So
Yeah.
a lot of these, like women will ask me, what do you take? Like, what supplements do you take? And of course,
Yeah.
again, like Marsha said, we are not doctors. You know, I'm just going to tell you what I take and what
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I found out about myself when I was in my early 50s was that I was so chronically low on vitamin D3 that
Yeah.
at that time said, I don't know how you are getting out of bed. So
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
take a prescription D3 capsule once a week, and
Yeah.
I take a vitamin K2 that helps D3. I take magnesium, which is for sleep pretty much.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
take creatine and taurine, which are like for muscles and
Yeah.
for just being this strong body. Lion's Mane supplement, which is third party tested by a very good. His name is Dr. Love, and I do enjoy him. But there's zinc, black seed oil. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
I think you don't have to worry about it, but you do have to become educated and
Yeah.
and for your own well-being and for your children as well. I mean, most of us
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
children or daughters who will be in menopause, and we at least want to be as helpful
I think that there
for
are a
them.
lot
And
of
there, you
questions.
probably know much more than we did.
There's a lot of questions out there. And so that's, the reason for doing shows like this is because, I know that people don't ask their doctors questions sometimes. But the other thing is, if you feel comfortable with a
Right.
pharmacist and you think they're good, I happen to like to talk to a pharmacist because
Yes.
they know the ingredients that the pill they're giving with you, and the shots, they know the vaccines, what's in them. And so I
Exactly.
think, doctors
Good
do
point.
do certain things,
Mhm.
but there's other things that they do not do. And that's okay. They can't do everything. However,
I mean, and
you have to be your best advocate
they
for yourself.
can't, but it's really not. You don't exactly. And I think it
Yeah.
really isn't the patient's fault if we're doing it, because the first and last time I saw a cardiologist who I ended up finding out I only had him so he could refer me to the actual vascular surgeon who did
Yeah.
my surgery. As soon as I sat down, I'd never seen the man in my life, never. And he said, I have 15 minutes with, so what can I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that
That's
right
never
away, you're
good.
like, oh, great, great.
Yeah. See, that's the whole thing. And
Yeah,
even when
bad
you're trying
sign.
to get an appointment, it's
Well,
not
there
good
it is.
anymore.
So
They have
sometimes,
to fix it. They have to fix the system. And hopefully they will someday because sometimes,
yeah.
there I had a show a few weeks ago and we were
Mm,
talking about a nurse practitioners. A lot of people are very comfortable talking to nurse practitioners. I am okay with that. I still would like to
yes.
talk to my doctor, but I think this is a new
Mhm.
thing now. And I don't think
Me
it's bad
too.
because I think when I
Yeah.
was working for doctors,
No, I
you're yeah, and then they started to do nurse practitioning, which is they're very good, a lot of these nurse practitioners, and they sit down with people and talk. And so I think that's
they
why
are.
people are starting to like to be with them
Hmm.
because they're listening to them.
Yes,
But I
they
still
they
do like to see a
time.
doctor,
Hmm.
but it's hard.
Well, yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
and they're all very
It's
busy
very
and
hard.
they've
Very
lost a lot of
hard.
doctors in the hospitals because of COVID,
Hmm.
because they don't want to work and they want to go into research and they're tired of this. But what about people? I mean, what about them? All
Hmm.
these questions, and then you go online, which is
Right.
what happens. And sometimes you have so many different
Hmm.
opinions. But with this particular thing now, hormones and this,
Oh,
almost
drives you
every article though I looked at
crazy.
was
Oh,
almost the
yeah.
same. They were all said the same
Mm,
things that we're
mm.
saying. these are the things that help,
Mm,
just like eating right,
right.
exercising,
Right.
talk to your
Mhm.
doctor. And,
Mhm.
and I looked through a lot of them.
Mhm.
So I think
Mhm.
that the common denominator of
Mhm.
all of it is be your own best advocate. When a doctor asks you a
Right.
question, you answer it truthfully, because if you don't, then it's your fault.
Yeah.
Answer
Yeah.
the truth. Don't lie,
Right.
because then you're not going to get the
Yeah.
proper
Right.
treatment. It's scary. It is. Listen, I remember
Right. Well, I
all
think
the,
it's great for us
all,
as well because
yeah,
it is
it's important. It's
sorry.
important to be,
It is, but
it's
I think
important to
what
be
is
able.
wonderful is that yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
important as well that we have younger OBGYNs and, sticking to just menopause, premenopause, postmenopause.
Yeah.
That already is a breath of fresh air, and I
Yeah.
think that that's wonderful. And I think women, we can still learn. I'm still learning. I loved her book. A lot of it doesn't pertain to me, but it certainly,
Yeah.
helps me
Yep.
understand,
Well,
why
right.
this
You
may
have
have
to
happened,
understand. That's the thing.
and
Right.
I'll
You
never know for
want
sure.
to
And plus,
understand. And you want your family also,
right, and it's
you kind of
genetics
want
too.
your
I mean,
family, but you kind of want your family to understand. So
yeah,
it's not always an open
yes,
table
good
discussion that you want to
point.
have with everybody. But if you're going through your
I
change and you don't want to say
I
anything
think
to
that's
your
the best thing.
husband or to your kids, maybe you should. They might not
Yeah,
want to hear it because they'll go,
yeah,
oh, you know what, we don't
we
want,
didn't know.
but they should know,
Yeah,
because sometimes
right.
you're not the same.
Yeah, you
And so I think
really
it,
are.
it,
You
it
do
helps.
change. I mean, and it's not just, hormonal. Yeah, I don't think it's only just hormonal. I think we all go through, you know, during big changes, even the dynamics of our family. Like I was
Yeah.
a mother of two children, and not legally, but adopted a son when he was 17. I was in my late 40s. That's a different dynamic
Yeah.
to our family.
Yeah.
Then I get separated. So I'm now a single. I'm not a married mother of these
Right.
children. I'm now a divorced single woman. You see, so there's lots of different phases. And now I've been single since 2007. And so now, an elder,
I never
so
look at it that way. See, this is the thing.
we're in a
Okay,
different.
everybody, all my friends know this.
I know.
Okay,
That's
my
why I'm laughing. That's
my
why I'm laughing.
grandmother, my grandmother lived till over 100, and so she always said, "I try to follow just live your life, okay, the best you can." And so I know sometimes it
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I can't do
Right.
that," but you know what? Don't let age, and I
Yeah,
think
you
what's
can.
happening now with women in the movements they're having, they're showing that they have
Mm-hmm.
strength in number, and they're starting to care
Mm-hmm.
about each other more than ever. So this
Absolutely.
isn't about what party you're in. This is about
Yeah.
women, not what party you're in. It's about
Yeah.
women
I agree.
understanding other women and sticking
Yeah. Yeah.
together. And so I think that's a good thing for women to
Mm-hmm.
know. And that's why if
Mm-hmm.
you have shows like this, or if you're talking to women, if they're comfortable enough to ask you questions,
Mm-hmm.
they might care, and they might want to hear from somebody
Yeah.
that's not 20 like them. They want to hear. I was lucky enough to go to lunch with my aunts,
Mm-hmm.
my grandmother. We had a whole table. Unfortunately, everybody's gone except me.
Same
But
here.
I learned so
Right.
much for them, which is why when I write about family and
Mm-hmm.
relationships, I'm writing from what I know. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe in family. And it's
Yes,
going,
I agree. I
unless we
agree.
all as
I
women
do too.
fight to keep our families going,
Mm-hmm.
and to
Mm-hmm.
and to be healthy for them,
Yeah.
and to show our
Yeah.
kids that we're strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even when we're
That's.
gone, the
Mm-hmm.
legacy of who
Yeah.
we were.
That can be. Yeah. That can be. It can be different. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
think it can be. And I think
It can be
it's
very different. There's
changing.
a lot of women are going through. Yeah, we're all changing. I mean, I think it's not like my mother would, stay at home, and like you, I was very close to the women and my aunts. I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah,
very close to, my mother's girlfriends friend's mother passed away when she was 57, way too young.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm very close to her best friend and my two aunts who are so our generation, we really did listen,
It's
pay
I
attention,
think
and
it's
take the
luck if you
wisdom.
have somebody, if you have that in your
And
life,
it's
it's
sometimes
luck.
difficult to.
It's good luck.
That's why I write Caribbean fiction, but it's also
Yeah.
about women's fiction, so for women's
Yeah.
lives throughout history, and that's what always attracted me to what I'm still writing about, which is always a woman's experience in various stages of history, of our history,
Right.
in Puerto Rico specifically, where I was born. So it's really important to me to connect. And no, I didn't always take advice, but I was always gracious to hear it, but I didn't always follow it. But now that I'm older, a couple of things
Yep.
they do because we have experience.
Yeah,
It's
and
wisdom.
they
It's
really,
wisdom.
yeah, and they did. And and so I think that that's a good thing, that if you look back at your life and then you remember even just a few people and what they said to you, it matters. And so I feel for it,
Yeah,
my friends,
it
I always say
does.
it's not about age. Every time they go, "Oh, this is wrong." I go, "Well, you know what? Young people have this." Listen, when I worked in
No.
hospitals, unfortunately, there were a lot of young, sick people. So if you're well
Mhm.
enough and you're older, just embrace
Yeah.
that. Just keep going.
Mhm.
Don't stop and don't let yourself,
Absolutely.
not do the
Absolutely.
things that you
No, no,
want to
no.
do. So, and I think if for as long as these
I
shows
think
go
that's the time
on,
to do it,
yeah, yeah.
actually.
So if people, when they're
Mm.
listening, if there are
It's
subjects you
important.
want to talk
Mhm.
about, just let me know because there's so many topics out there to talk about. And I don't think they talk, they,
Absolutely. There's lots of
yeah,
offshoots for
yeah.
yeah.
And we're like, because we're not telling people what to do, we're telling them how to survive this all,
No,
and how to
no,
keep going on, even
no,
if you have them,
exactly.
because it's tough. It can get tough. Listen, if you are going through your
Right.
change, if you are moody or whatever, that's one of the things exercise can help you with, I think, but check with your doctors and try to find a
Mhm,
doctor that you can talk to
mhm.
because it makes such a difference if when you go to a
Exactly.
doctor and you're sitting there and you're
It
actually
does, it
having a
does.
conversation instead of them just
Mhm.
staring at you, or now
Yeah,
what they do is they're
makes
writing
a
on the
big difference.
computer. Taking notes, which
Mhm.
is horrifying, but that's what they do.
Yeah.
Although I have one
Well, mine
doctor.
actually, what she did in front of me,
Go
and
ahead.
I didn't know, she actually was using her phone, and she said, "Do you mind if I take notes?" And you know who was taking the notes? AI
Yeah. Oh, really? Wow.
was doing her notes.
Well,
I was as I was
hmm.
I'm not
uh,
joking.
yeah.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
yeah.
Welcome to the world.
Mhm.
So the one thing I wanna leave everyone before I leave is that to ping off what Marsha very, very wisely said, that it's like it's not over, even though it
Yeah.
was a very difficult time, and some of us come out of it unscathed and some don't, but usually something you change. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just fact of life. It's a change of
But it's
life,
it's not
basically.
bad though.
But
The
at
good
age
news is
50,
yeah, yeah.
at
But the
age
good
50, I
news,
finished and wrote my first novel.
right? See,
And
there
when
you
I
go.
was 60, so then I didn't publish it for a good time because then I was going through a divorce and, going back to school and working, which outside the home. And my two kids were in college at the same time. So for 10 years, I took care of them and I did what I could just to keep my head above water. So 10 years
Yeah,
later, I published my first novel, Snouncy. And
yeah,
at 63,
yeah.
I
See,
published my
it's so
first
I mean,
poetry
right,
novel.
and right. This is
So it's not
wonderful, and
over. It's
that's
not
that's
over.
the thing. Yeah, and
It's just
yeah.
beginning.
Listen, I've had thousands, so many 16 years of
It's just
shows that I've
beginning.
done. 16 years of shows, and I
Yeah.
have people of all ages. And people are started writing right after they retired, and
Yes.
they have great successful careers for the second career. So, I mean, yes, women, if we
Yeah.
understand how much we matter, because we do, I always write like on
Mhm.
my
Yeah.
post,
Yes,
love matters, family matters. It does matter. It does. We can't be who we are
it
just
does.
by sitting home and not
Very
talking
important.
to anybody and seeing people or talking. So I think if you need to have a conversation with your doctor and you
Mhm.
can't, like I said before, get a new one. There's hundreds of doctors out there in your areas. You can get a new
Yeah,
one because if you don't feel
absolutely,
comfortable,
absolutely. Yeah, and thank you.
you're missing out.
Yep. I
You are, and that's how it goes. So I
and thank
think,
you also
you
for
know, yeah,
opening the
yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you before that,
Oh,
to say
no,
thank you
you're
for
welcome.
opening the dialogue and to,
Oh, you're
yeah,
welcome.
agreeing to
And we're gonna
host a
start. We're
show
gonna
about
start.
because
Yeah, we're gonna
really, it was
start.
really I think it's
Yeah,
great, and I'm really,
yeah.
really proud of you for all your years of doing this
Oh,
and
thank you.
for
Thank
being
you.
such a good friend to writers and women
Yeah,
and
thank
men
you. Yes,
too.
listen, you know what?
Absolutely.
Yes, and over the years, I've had a lot of male
Thank
guests on
you.
here, a lot of females on here, younger writers, ones that have aged a little,
Yeah.
but you know what? It doesn't matter. Just you have to
Mm,
live the best life you
it
can,
doesn't.
and that's it. So,
It doesn't.
Eleanor, thank you so much. I there may be a little static in this, I know, so I'll have to work on that.
Oh,
I don't know,
thank you.
yeah. So, but all the information
Oh,
that we're giving you is just information to just, keep in your head next time you're talking to your doctor, you know, because, a lot of
exactly.
times my
I mean,
doc,
it's like it's your
sometimes,
title,
yeah,
right?
sometimes my doctor
Women
says to me, all right, what did you do? What do you do?
about
What did
women.
you
That's
do?
all it is.
They know I don't, yeah, and they know I don't always listen. I don't always listen. I have to be truthful. I don't. And they goes, well, what did you do? I go, okay, I'm gonna tell you what I did,
Yeah.
because I feel like I can do that because I don't have to do everything they tell me to do.
No, I
If it's
agree.
something
I
that I
agree.
have
But
a question, I move on. I do.
right.
I move on and I ask other people,
Mm,
but try to find some doctor,
mm-hmm,
any of them. I mean, if it's an endocrinologist or if it's your regular
mm-hmm,
doctor, if it's whatever doctor,
right.
allergist, try to have a rapport. So even if that's not their field, they can send you to somebody to get you the help you need.
Right. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. I
yeah,
think, and
so
and it's I drive mine crazy. I mean, mine always give me extra time
yeah, oh,
because
they
they
do.
know that
Oh,
I'm going to come with a million questions. And oh yeah,
I
they give
don't.
me a
I
more
don't
time.
usually. I don't. And
Yeah,
I have
I
one
have to
doctor,
have it
and yeah,
answered.
yeah.
I don't know.
So some
Ask. It's
right.
like, because so much information out there and I'm just not
Yeah,
going to Google everything.
I
You're
know.
my
No,
doctor. You know
right.
my
Help.
results. You see my tests in
Yep.
front of you. Give
Yep.
me, yeah, help me.
Right.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to be okay.
Yeah. But it is
All
hard
right,
to
you're very
help in 15
wonderful.
minutes. In 15 minutes is not always
No,
what, I don't like, I don't
absolutely.
always ask a lot of questions,
I
and
agree.
my main, yeah, and the
I
main
agree with
doctor I
you.
have, he says, aren't you a little over anxious? I go, yes, I am, because when I come here, I'm already aggravated at what you're talking about. So, I mean, because
Oh,
he's not
good one.
listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not listening. I go, yes, my blood pressure is a little
Well, they
higher
just
when I
think,
come
yeah,
here.
I know. Well,
And
my blood
yeah,
pressure is always through the roof. And my blood pressure is normally very low. I mean, I'm on the low end. Oh my God. She's
yeah,
like,
me
oh,
too.
okay.
I know. I
You have
know.
questions. And as
And
I
y-
start answering,
yeah,
then my blood pressure goes down
yeah, yeah.
because you're
Listen,
waiting
when
for
I
the
worked
worst.
for
You're
doctors,
waiting.
I had one doctor I worked for. He
Uh-huh.
made me, he asked me every 5 minutes to take his blood pressure, and I would say, you know what? How many times am I going to take it? Because if you keep asking me, you're nervous. It's going to go up, and he still did it. I go, okay, just sit for a minute and don't ask me anymore. I because it's going to go
I
up.
know. I
That's the thing,
know.
and it does because
It
people,
does.
and
Yeah.
some after COVID. I don't feel the same when I go to doctors because I just don't, so that's why I try to find different ones that I,
Mm,
think are much more, apt to talk and just, I don't like a doctor that is so worried
hmm
all the time. I like the low key guy because I don't want anybody like because some
Yeah.
doctors are
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
uptight and you got to do this, that, but some doctors are
Yep.
very
Yep.
low
Yep.
key and those work better for me. So anybody out there, listen, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you have
Yeah.
any questions, just let me know on Facebook or wherever and on my website. And Eleanor, you have a website they can find your books.
Yeah.
So just want to talk about, say that for a minute?
Sure. Yes. Sure. Sure. My website would be Eleanor, Eanor Parker, Parker, Sapia, Sapia.com. And my books are on Amazon. It is A
Amazon.
Decent Woman. Yep, my first novel, and the poetry collection is called Tight Knots, Loose Threads, which is very interesting because it was written during the time going. The beginning of it is actually when I was going through menopause. Now that I think
And
about it.
I noticed today you were on TikTok. You were on TikTok today. I saw you
Yes,
on
I took your
TikTok. Good,
advice.
good
I've
girl.
been
Okay.
ignoring it,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to. I have to call you later. I don't
All
know how
right,
to
we'll
book
talk about
talk.
that.
I'm totally
Yeah,
confused.
we'll talk about that.
You
But
will
you
talk
got on
about it later.
there, yeah. And okay, and mine is
I did.
MarshaCasperCook.com,
I took your
and right.
advice.
And all my shows are on MichiganAvenueMedia.com. 16 years of shows, I think, are on. You don't have to listen to 16, like 1,000 shows, but there are some really
Wow.
good ones on there because we have some good conversations. And so, again, thank you, Eleanor. Yes, and I will talk to you later on this
Definitely.
afternoon
Thank
about
you.
book talk and all these. Look, that's the thing. There is information out
When you
there.
get a chance, no
Yeah.
rush.
Okay, and there are doctors out there so that you can ask questions to, but mostly try to get answers. Don't just think there's no answer, because there is an answer to all of your questions. There really are.
Right.
So, all right, and take it care. And next
Yep.
week on, uh, I have Delta James and Irene Lawless. We'll be talking about romance, and then my editor Jeff will be on my show in
Ooh.
December, and then I'm off. But then in starting in January, like I said at the beginning, we will be having more of these shows. And so on different subjects, it's like love, relationships,
Wonderful.
things like that. And where did it go wrong and where did it go right? So,
That's
okay,
awesome.
there, right. All right. So have a
Wonderful.
great day. Have a great day. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
thank you.
Thank you to
Oh,
your
you're welcome.
listeners.
You're
Bye.
welcome.